You know that feeling, that pressure, like you're being pressed in on all sides, maybe by fear or injustice or just a deep down exhaustion that you can't seem to shake? It's a feeling we all know. The real question is, what do you do when you get there? No, really, think about it for a second. When you feel totally worn down, when that sense of safety is just gone and you feel vulnerable and exposed, what's your first instinct? A lot of us, we just withdraw, we shut down, or maybe we just complain to whoever will listen. But what if there was a better way, a more hope-filled path to walk through that pain? And that's where this powerful idea of lament comes in. Now, this isn't just about complaining. Lament is the practice of turning back to God in our pain. See, it's an approach, not a performance. It's less about trying to say all the right things and way more about just moving in the right direction, which is always toward Him. So to make this practical, we're going to look at a kind of roadmap called the TEARS framework. It's drawn right from what we see in Psalm 31. It gives us 5 clear steps: turn, express, ask, resolve, and speak. This gives us something solid to hold on to when we feel completely lost. So let's start with T, turn back to God. And I want you to notice that subtitle, the direction of the will. This is so important. Lament doesn't start with having all the answers or even with feeling better. It starts with a choice. It's an act of your will to simply turn your face toward God. The writer of Psalm 31, David, he starts right here. In you, O Lord, do I take refuge. He's scared. He's in trouble. But his very first move is to declare where he is placing himself, before God. Think about that. He's choosing his refuge before the storm is even past. So you see this tension, right? Our natural temptation when we're afraid is to pull back, to withdraw and shut down. But turning to God is this incredible act of obedience that pushes right back against that fear. It's choosing His presence over our own lonely isolation, even when it feels like the hardest thing to do. All right, so after we turn, we get to E, express the complaint honestly. This step is all about naming what is true. God isn't looking for our polished, polite prayers. He invites us to be real, to speak plainly about what hurts. And David's words here are such a powerful example of that. I am in distress. My life is spent with sorrow. He doesn't downplay it. He's not trying to pretend he's fine. He just lays out the raw, honest reality of his suffering right there before God. And here's why that is so critical. When we keep that pain inside, unspoken, it starts to tell us lies, doesn't it? We start to silently believe things like, God is distant, or this pain is meaningless. But expressing the complaint brings that reality out into the light where God's truth can meet it, instead of letting it fester in the dark. Okay, so we've turned to God, and we've been honest about our pain. Now what? Now we ask boldly for help. This is where lament gets active. This isn't just sitting back and giving up. It's about taking all those longings we have for justice, for rescue, and pointing them straight toward God. And listen to these words. There's no tiptoeing around here. Deliver me, rescue me, vindicate me. These are strong, bold requests. He's asking God to step in, to act, especially when he's facing injustice. This shows us that we have permission to ask for big things. You know, our gut instinct is often to try and control the outcome, to protect ourselves. But asking God to act, that's a direct challenge to that urge. It takes our anger and our hurt and channels it toward prayer instead of revenge. Asking for help isn't weakness. It is a profound act of trust. Okay, this next step. This is the pivot point of the whole entire process. R, resolve to trust the Lord. This is where there's a shift in allegiance. And it's not because our circumstances have magically changed, but because we make a choice to align ourselves with God's character over our own fears. What a powerful statement. But I trust in you, O Lord. You can just hear the shift right there, can't you? After laying out all his pain, all his fear, David makes a deliberate choice. He says, "You are my God. My times are in your hand." He's choosing to define his reality by who God is. Now, it is so important to get this next part. This kind of trust isn't the same thing as feeling calm all of a sudden. Trust is deliberate reliance. It's a choice we make because we know God is faithful, and it fights back against that temptation to just give up and believe that none of this matters anymore. And that brings us to our final step, S. Speak hope back to God. This is all about reorienting our hearts through worship. Notice that lament doesn't just end with easy answers. It ends by putting God back on the throne as king over our circumstances and our hearts. And just look at how the psalm ends. It's an encouragement spoken out loud, a declaration of hope. Be strong and let your heart take courage, all you who wait for the Lord. That hope is spoken before it's fully felt. It's spoken while he's still waiting for everything to be resolved. And here's what that does. It's so powerful. Worship interrupts fear's control over us. When we're wronged, it is so easy to let that injustice become our whole story, our whole identity. But speaking hope, that restores our true identity in God. It reminds us that he gets the final word, not our pain. So where does all this come from? What's the anchor holding this whole thing down? Well, this entire practice of lament leads to one single place. And this is just breathtaking. As Jesus hung on the cross, betrayed, condemned, suffering unjustly, he prayed from this very psalm. Into your hand I commit my spirit. He lived out the ultimate act of lament and trust, entrusting himself completely to the Father in his moment of deepest agony. And because Christ did that perfectly, we have these incredible assurances. It means you're not forgotten. It means your suffering is not wasted. It means God's justice is certain, even when it feels delayed. Your identity is secure in him. And you are invited not to just disappear in your pain, but to entrust yourself completely to a God who has proven himself faithful. So that leaves us with one last question to really think about. Based on all of this, what truth about God, about his character, his goodness, his control, what truth do you need to speak out loud today, right where you are, even while you wait?